Magic Treehouse, Book 5, Night of the Ninjas. Okay, boys and girls, most of us have already read the first 4 books in this series, and we're talking a lot about series, what we learn about characters from one book to another, how they're the same, how they're different. Okay, so this is the first part. I'll add 2 chapters every day. Okay, so try to read along with me. If you don't want to hear my voice, turn the volume down. Here we go. And if you have the book with you, you can read off of your book if you don't want to look at the screen. Okay, let's get started. Prologue. One summer day in Frog Creek, Pennsylvania, a mysterious treehouse appeared in the woods. 8-year-old Jack and his 7-year-old sister, Annie, climbed into the treehouse. They found that it was filled with books. Jack and Annie soon discovered that the treehouse was magic. It could take them to the places in the books. All they had to do was point to a picture and wish to be there. Jack and Annie visited the time of the dinosaurs, Old England, ancient Egypt, and a pirate ship. Along the way, they discovered that the treehouse belonged to Morgan Le Fay. Morgan was a magical librarian from the time of King Arthur. She traveled through time and space, gathering books. Jack and Annie are about to start a whole new adventure in Night of the Ninjas. Chapter 1. Back into the Woods. "Let's look again, Jack," said Annie. Jack and Annie were walking home from the library. The path went right by the Frog Creek woods. Jack sighed. "We looked this morning," he said. "We looked the day before, and the day before that." "Then you don't have to come," said Annie. "I'll go look by myself." She took off into the woods. "Annie, wait!" Jack called. "It's almost dark. We have to get home." But Annie had disappeared among the trees. Jack stared at the woods. He was starting to lose hope. Maybe he would never see Morgan again. Weeks had passed, and there had not been one sign of Morgan Le Fay, nor had there been one sign of her magic treehouse. "Jack!" Annie called from the woods. "It's back!" "Oh, she's just pretending as usual," Jack thought, but his heart started to race. "Hurry!" called Annie. "She better not be kidding," said Jack. He took off into the woods to find Annie. Night was falling fast. Crickets chirped loudly. It was hard to see through the shadows. "Annie!" Jack shouted. "Here!" she called. Jack kept walking. "Here where?" he called back. "Here, here!" Annie's voice came from above. Jack looked up. "Oh, man," he breathed. Annie waved from the window of a treehouse. It was in the tallest oak in the woods. A long rope ladder hung down from it. The magic treehouse was back. "Come on up!" Annie shouted. Jack ran to the rope ladder. He started climbing. He climbed and climbed and climbed. As he climbed, he looked out over the woods. High above the treetops it was still light. At last Jack pulled himself into the treehouse. Annie sat in the shadows. Books were scattered everywhere. On the floor the letter M glowed in the dim light. The M stood for Morgan Le Fay, but there was no sign of Morgan herself. "I wonder where Morgan is," said Jack. "Maybe she went to the library to get some more books," said Annie. "We were just at the library. We would have seen her," said Jack. "Besides, the library's closed now." Squeak! A little mouse ran out from behind a stack of books. It ran to the M shining in the floor. "Yikes!" said Annie. The mouse sat on the middle of the M. It looked up at Jack and Annie. "Oh, it's so cute," Annie said. Jack had to admit the mouse was cute. It had brown and white fur and big dark eyes. Annie slowly reached out her hand. The mouse didn't move. Annie patted its tiny head. "Hi, Peanut," she said. "Can I call you Peanut?" "Oh, brother," said Jack. "Do you know where Morgan is?" Annie asked the mouse. Squeak! "You're nuts, Annie," said Jack. "Just because the mouse is in the tree house doesn't mean it's magic. It's a plain old mouse that crawled in, that's all." Jack looked around again. He saw a piece of paper on the floor. "What's that?" he said. "What's what?" asked Annie. Jack went over and picked up the paper. There was writing on it. "Oh, man," whispered Jack, after he read the words. "What is it?" said Annie. "A note," said Jack. "It must be for Morgan. I think she's in big trouble." Chapter 2. The Open Book. Jack showed Annie the piece of paper. It said, "Help me under a spell. Find and thin." "Oh, no," said Annie. "We have to help her, but what's a thin?" "Maybe she was trying to write things," said Jack. "See how the N sort of runs off the page? Maybe the spell was starting to make her disappear or something," said Annie. "Right," said Jack. "I wonder if she left any other clues." He glanced around the treehouse. "Look!" Annie pointed at a book in the corner. "That's the only open book," she said. Jack looked around again. Annie was right. He felt a shiver go down his spine. Jack went over to the book and picked it up. He held it near the window. Light from the setting sun was golden on the page. Jack stared at the picture on it. In the picture were trees with white flowers. The trees were on the side of a mountain, near a wide rushing stream. Two people were also in the picture. They wore dark clothes. They had black scarves over their faces and long swords strapped to their backs. "Oh, man," whispered Jack. "Who are they?" Annie asked. "Ninjas, I think," said Jack. "Ninjas? Really?" said Annie. "Morgan must have left the book open to this page for a reason," said Jack. "Maybe that's where she was when the spell got her," Annie said. "Or maybe that's where the four things are," said Jack. "Let's go," said Annie. "Now?" said Jack. "Yes, Morgan's in trouble. She needs us now," said Annie. "But we should read this book first," said Jack. "So we'll be prepared." "Forget it," said Annie. Every minute counts. She grabbed the book from Jack. "Give it back," he said. "We have to find out about this place." Annie held the book out of reach. "We'll find out when we get there," she said. "We don't even know where there is," Jack said. But Annie pointed at the picture. "I wish we could go here," she said. The leaves of the oak tree began to shake. "Squeak!" "Don't be scared, Peanut," said Annie. She scooped up the mouse. Then she put it in the pouch of her sweatshirt. The wind began to blow. It blew harder and harder. The treehouse started to spin faster and faster. Jack squeezed his eyes shut. Then everything was still. Absolutely still, except for the sound of rushing water. How did Jack and Annie feel about the treehouse being back? What did the letter M on the floor of the treehouse stand for? What ran out from behind a stack of books in the treehouse? What did Annie name the mouse? How many things do Jack and Annie need to find to help Morgan? What was the book that was lying open in the treehouse? Where did Annie put Peanut after she said, "I wish we could go there"? To be continued tomorrow.